Hi everyone, welcome to another Friday artwork video. So another set to go through. I have mainly look at the artwork, but I'll bring these on camera so you can see the original rules text. And we're up to Planar Chaos. So this is the one that's interesting because it's got the colour shifted cards where the border's subtly different. And what I've arranged these by in my binder is I've got the regular cards first in a particular colour, and then I follow up in the same colour with the colour shifted cards. So, and you'll see in a moment. I'll see if I can remember to flag up certain cycles, but what I'm going to do is include in the description all the links to all my other content that's related to this set. That's something I've been doing for a while now. So, yeah, keep your eye out. There is a cycle of charms in this set. So keep your eyes open for those. Oh, makes me happy to see an elemental. And we'll have to try and keep our eyes open for all the weird and wonderful stuff in here generally. Like I said, I'll include links to previous content, and one of those things will be the two pack openings that I would have done or the two lots of pack openings. So I think 5 packs in each of the videos for this particular set, and so you'll there explain a little bit more about the content of the set in terms of what sort of keywords, abilities you see, but also don't forget I have done a set musings for this set as well, which really does go into a lot of detail about the set and things are present. For instance, like the fact there were slivers in the set, the cycles that were in the set, and all that sort of wonderful stuff that set musings cover. So yeah, don't forget to check that out. So you probably noticed there, Dust Elemental was our first rare. And we had So it's always interesting when I go through these boosters or the stuff that I pull, particularly for the smaller sets where you get this sort of weird clustering of certain amounts of commons that are there more than others. And I've noticed with the smaller sets, just because of the the breakdown overall when you open it, a few, say 10 packs, yeah, just some you get quite a number of copies. I've got to pull the Stone Cloaker in here. Which I often, I used to see on commander lists or EDH lists back when it was still, commander wasn't a thing. Or at the very least was only a thing on Magic the Gathering Online. Okay, so now we're moving on already to our colour shifted stuff. So I'm not going to attempt to try and remember what all of these are colour shifted from, but you probably can recognise straight away that that's clearly a blue counter spell. But I like these colour shifted cards. They're particularly useful if you're looking for a particular solution for a deck or something to go in a deck for a particular scenario, and you don't want to splash the colour for that thing, if it's in another colour from, say, what you're already playing, it's well worth looking through these colour shifted cards and seeing if, you know, going on to Scryfall and basically looking through them and just seeing if the thing you want is actually in the colour because it was colour shifted in this set. So we're now moving on to the regular blue cards. So you may have noticed things like vanishing and morph and, you know, the presence of certain cards in here. This is the next rare to look at. This is spell shift. Interesting stuff going on in the background there. Slivers were a thing. Yeah, certain sets, you know, through Magic's history are good places to take a look at in terms of trying to build sliver decks, and this is one particular block that's worth poking around in. Suspend was a thing. There's some interesting multicolour cards in here as well, which we'll get on to, which I tend to forget about for this set. So, well, we won't be there for a while, so we're now moving on to the colour shifted stuff for blue. Again, I'm not seeing many foils here actually from these. Maybe the presence of the colour shifted and, well, the shifted, whatever it was, time shifted, colour shifted, future shifted things, you know, had an effect on the incidence of foil cards in the set. I really like the actual look of these colour shifted cards. It made, you know, elements of the inner border, you know, around here particularly, and the tops here really pop, and yeah, it gave a different quality to the artwork as well. Okay, so moving on to the regular black cards, got some rebels in here. I was trying to remember, and again it's best to just look at the set musings. I was trying to remember whether this set, in addition to having, or the block generally I suppose, in addition to having a sort of lot going on with keywords, abilities and mechanics, that was also true of things like, you know, the certain selection of creature types and that sort of thing. It's the downside of me, the way I do these is I deliberately go in totally cold with this, because I want to get our enjoyment out of just looking at the artwork for the first time in a long while, and it spoils it a little bit sometimes if I've done a bit of a initial look through. Particularly here, where the artwork side of this is so far away from when I did the original set musings. Okay, we have a rare here. We have Extirpate, which featured in our deck musings episode. At least I have these lining up with deck musings, so some of these obviously I see, but not the whole set. And I might see if I did a complete set musings. Yep, so again, you're probably noticing there's a number of charms here, which obviously are contenders for being a cycle. It's a pretty interesting, I suppose, combinations of creatures in terms of, the hybrids of different types as well. And then once again, pretty straightforward, we have more slivers. So moving on to the colour shifted cards in black. Again, you might be able to spot what this is a shift of. Certainly, yeah, it does. It's difficult to know whether they chose the artwork to be a certain way, but I definitely really feel drawn to the artwork in these, ones where the different borders for these colour shifted. There's something about it. I don't know whether they did. Do you think they may have dialed back on the colour palette a little bit for the artwork? It's just some quality about it I can't quite put my finger on. Right, moving into red now, and I have a rare, and it is a legend. And yeah, I think this is a great set or block generally if you're just interested in checking out some unusual legends. And then, surprise, surprise, another sliver. And this was slivers with the old school, the original templating, where all slivers, as opposed to a newer version, which I was probably allies gone wrong, might be a better way to think about it, or allies reimagined the slivers that happened in a certain set later in Magic's history. Certainly, putting the complexity of the sets here to one side, I imagine, from my own experience of opening packs of these, it must have been pretty exciting at the time to open packs of this particular set, just because of the fact the first set you had the older cards, and then you had these ones where there were the colour shifted stuff mixed in, and then later on when we look next week you'll see the ones with the completely different borders in them. And I'm assuming, if you go onto the MTG Wiki article, which I'll include in the description, I bet it's got some interesting information about how they actually managed to do this in terms of making sure cards were properly distributed. And so there's another rare, that's Volcano Helion. So I think long-term players of Magic will probably recognise what this card is a colour shifted version of. So you can see here we've moved on to the colour shifted stuff. Maybe it's just the case that with these colour shifted cards, if you're talking about the red ones, everything just looks more redder. The green ones, everything looks more greener and so on. I don't know. Okay, so now moving back to the regular cards in green now. Interesting kicker and other stuff going on there. So yeah, we had kicker in here. And another charm. Yep, nice modal spells. Right. Oh, you have a green rare here. Fungal Behemoth. That's that one with suspend on it. There was a cycle of those where, as you removed the counters, you got something. So they were designed so there's 3 and a green the casting cost. The suspend was X and 2 green, and the idea is you could deliberately sort of over suspend it, if you like, as much as you felt comfortable doing, because every time you moved a time counter you get something. In this case it's +1/+1 counters on a target creature. But yeah, that was a thing. There were a cycle of those which we saw actually in this week's, I indeed said today's, but it's just because I'm shooting it today. But yeah, this week's Deck Musings episode. Oh, another rare coming up. Life and Limb, Forests and Saplings. Okay. Maya Boa. Trying to remember what that was reprinted in. Yep, Echo was a thing. And yeah, in this set you got to play with fungus, spore counters and sapling tokens. If you felt so inclined. So we're now moving on to the green colour shifted stuff, and we have Essence Warden, and another one where people may well recognise what this has been colour shifted from. So yeah, just basically think of these as functional reprints in a different colour. Another rare. Trample Haste. Sacrifice it. 6/1 for 3 green. I wonder what that's similar or is the same as, but in red. Another classic one here. Draw 3 cards, but in green. 2 and 2 green. And we have a green colour shifted modal spell. The other thing in here as well, just to muddle the mixture, are these. So here's Dead and Gone. This is the only one I've got, that particular type. I notice a couple of gaps in the binder here, so I suspect this has been raided for certain slivers. But some are still around. Dormant sliver. And necrotic sliver. So you can see we're now moving to multicoloured stuff. Not that many, but yeah, definitely a couple of interesting ones here. So I do have one of the dragons. This is Numot the Devastator. So there are a cycle of these tricolour dragons in this particular set. Also I've got another legendary 2-colour in red green, which is Manadork as well. I suppose if indeed you can refer to a legendary creature as a dork. And then another rare, rather nicely. I wonder what anybody can guess this is. So it's not multicoloured, it is a non-basic land. So if you guess, do a clue here. This is a giveaway because we've already done this in deck musings. Yep. Each land is a swamp in addition to its other land types. So yep, it's Urborg, Tomb of Yawgmoth. And there we have it. That's all the cards. Well, that's all the individual copies of cards. Obviously, several of these, there are multiple copies. But thanks once again for watching. Bye for now. And I will catch you in a future episode.